The announcement of the recent hostage deal between Israel and Hamas has once again brought to light the complex and murky politics that govern such agreements. These negotiations, often fraught with high stakes and moral dilemmas, transcend the immediate issue of humanitarian relief and delve deep into the realms of domestic and international political maneuvering. Domestic Israeli politics. Hostage deals hold a particularly sensitive place in Israeli society. For decades, the mantra of bringing our hostages home has driven public sentiment, often pressuring successive Israeli governments into striking deals that are perceived as lopsided. This week's agreement is no different, eliciting both relief and criticism from various quarters. The current Israeli government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, faces significant domestic challenges. The ongoing conflict in Gaza has left the country polarized, with widespread protests against judicial reforms, adding to political instability. The Israeli left has inexplicably hijacked the hostage issue and conflated it with other issues they are passionate about, which is both irresponsible and disingenuous. At the same time, the Israeli right can be too hawkish and rigid in its views about Gaza. Two right-wing political parties have already threatened to withdraw from the current Israeli government's coalition if the hostage deal is approved by the government. This would result in the coalition losing its majority and thus early elections. As such, Israeli public broadcaster Kan Radio reported that Netanyahu has offered both these political parties, quote, gains for the right, in return for them remaining in the government, particularly in the realm of increased settlement construction in the West Bank. And, ahead of Israel's expected release on Sunday or Monday of Palestinian prisoners in the hostage ceasefire deal signed with Hamas, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz announced his decision to free Israeli settlers in the West Bank held under administrative detention orders. Katz said in a statement, quote, in light of the expected release of terrorists from Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank, as part of the hostage release deal, I have decided to release the settlers detained in administrative detention and to convey a clear message of strengthening and encouraging the West Bank settlements, which are at the forefront of the struggle against Palestinian terrorism and facing growing security challenges. It is better for the families of Jewish settlers to be happy than the families of released terrorists. End quote. What's more, the hostage deal offers Netanyahu a temporary reprieve, portraying his administration as one willing to make tough decisions to save lives. Still, critics argue that such deals embolden Hamas, undermining Israel's long-term security by incentivizing future kidnappings. Hence, the deal has exposed rifts within the Israeli political spectrum. Right-wing factions view concessions to Hamas as capitulation, while centrist and leftist groups emphasize the moral imperative of rescuing innocent lives. The agreement has also deepened tensions between secular and religious segments of the population, with debates over the allocation of resources and the government's priorities adding fuel to an already volatile political climate. Domestic Palestinian politics. For Hamas, the hostage deal is a propaganda victory. By negotiating with Israel, Hamas positions itself as the de facto representative of Palestinian so-called resistance, further sidelining the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. This dynamic underscores the fragmented nature of Palestinian politics, where Hamas's control over Gaza is contrasted with the Palestinian Authority's diminishing credibility in the West Bank. In Gaza, the deal bolsters Hamas's image as a protector of Palestinian interests, even as the civilian population bears the brunt of the ongoing conflict. By securing prisoner releases, Hamas can claim a moral and political victory, reinforcing its narrative of resistance against Israeli aggression. In the West Bank, however, the situation is more nuanced. The Fatah-run Palestinian Authority led by 89-year-old Mahmoud Abbas, is increasingly viewed as ineffectual and disconnected from the aspirations of ordinary Palestinians. The hostage deal exposes the Palestinian Authority's inability to influence events in Gaza or secure meaningful outcomes for its people. This further erodes its legitimacy, creating a vacuum that other factions may seek to exploit. On Friday, Abbas said that the Palestinian Authority is ready to assume full responsibility in post-war Gaza, in his first statement since the Gaza ceasefire deal was announced. Hamas may agree to this, since the optics of it allow the terrorist organization to remain alive, while not in the immediate public eye. But in due time, the terror group will rebuild, rearm, and violently overthrow the Palestinian Authority like it did in 2007, when Hamas fighters took control of the Gaza Strip and removed all Fatah officials, including throwing some off buildings and parading their dead bodies in the streets. On the global stage, most countries are celebrating the hostage deal because it means a cessation of hostilities, at least temporarily. Such a pause represents a return to relative stability, a prerequisite for economic growth and political focus elsewhere. The West prefers peace and quiet over safety and security because the former reduces the global stress index, freeing politicians to concentrate on domestic or other international priorities, without the looming threat of a conflagration in the Middle East, which can affect oil prices and thus many parts of the economy. It also means the pro-Palestinian hooligans will shut up and go home. In the United States, the timing of this hostage deal comes as President-elect Donald Trump is set to move back into the White House on Monday, January 20th. And this timing is not a coincidence. Trump has already taken credit for this hostage deal, with a report last weekend claiming that Netanyahu's change of heart seemed to come in conversations with Trump officials, from the president-elect himself down to Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. In fact, some Arab officials have suggested one meeting last Saturday between Netanyahu and Witkoff did more to bring Netanyahu around than a year of the Biden administration's efforts. But Netanyahu is no fool. He is easily one of the greatest politicians on this planet, which is why he has so many haters. In Israel, they call Netanyahu the magician, and for good reason. He is essentially positioning Israel to release some of the hostages in the near term, with the option to do whatever he feels is in the best interest of Jewish state thereafter. To do so, Netanyahu knows that he must give Trump what he wants now, a hostage deal in time for his presidential inauguration on January 20th, so that Netanyahu and Israel can take something in the future, for example, eliminating Hamas in Gaza and/or striking Iran, with America's support. When Hamas inevitably works to rearm or lobs rockets at Israel, the Israelis will have ample justification to resume fighting. When the Iranian regime sprints to a nuclear weapon, if it has not already, the Israelis will have America's blessing to attack. In the meantime, Israel will continue working tirelessly to develop the sort of intelligence hacks in Gaza that it demonstrated against Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Israelis will leverage the ceasefire to devise the next plans of attack against Hamas and even Iran, highlighting the interplay between morality and realpolitik, where the immediate goal of saving lives collides with the long-term implications for security, legitimacy, and power.